Good morning. I believe it's the afternoon. I don't know what time it is. I, again, don't know what I'd like to talk about. I know it has something to do with my husband and I because that's the current theme going on in my life because he's here. So last night I had to go to work, and when he's home, sometimes he flies in, so he doesn't have a vehicle because his truck is where he works, and he uses my car. We share my car when he's here, and that can be a challenge in itself because sometimes he takes it and then I have to find out how to get to work. And one time he said, well, why don't you just take a cab? It'll be fine. And I said, okay, that shouldn't be a big deal. And I did, but the cab company was extremely busy. And this is a small town, so there was only one cab company. And I was late for work, a half an hour late for work. That turned into a big fight. Once tempers had calmed, we both realized that what was happening for me at least, was that I was trying to make what I was doing, my work, more important than whatever he was doing, for which the reason why he needed the car. And my good friend told me, in a relationship, if you want a relationship to work, it's not one person winning over the other or one person having more importance or value than the other, no matter what you're doing. And that really hit me because that's what I was feeling, that I had to go to work. You're just going to do whatever, and my work is more important than what you're doing. So you should feel bad and guilty. And here's the thing. I wanted to let him use the car. I didn't want him to be here and be stranded. So I was kind of torn between this place of wanting to share the vehicle so he's not sitting at home bored doing nothing, but also feeling a fear of, well, what if I don't get what I want and then I'm late for work? Or what if he doesn't see what I'm doing as important? Which is exactly what happened. When I told him that I was late, he didn't really brush it off. Well, he kind of did, in my opinion. He kind of was like, oh, well, that sucks. I'm really sorry. And that set me off even more because I was like, how could you not care that I'm late for work? Because I know how you would be if you were late for work. And we kind of let it go. He had to leave the next day. This was the last time he was home. And when we talked about it again in a day or two, he had said, you know, I have had some time to think about it. And I realized that when I was young, I didn't really have anyone show me or model for me that type of caring behavior for somebody else. And if that were to happen when I was young, to me, someone would have said, just get over it. It's not a big deal. So that's how he was reacting to me. And the way I was reacting was, oh my gosh, he doesn't care about me. He doesn't care about what I'm doing. He doesn't respect what I'm doing. He thinks what he's doing is way more important. When really, too, I was thinking what I'm doing is more important than you. You should feel bad and want to give me the car and grovel now that you made me late. So it was when I had that awareness that I came to the realization that, would I rather be right in this situation or happy? And definitely, at first, my ego had taken over during the argument when I was being late, being a victim. This is all happening to me. I'm helpless. I wanted to be right. And quickly afterwards, I realized, like, this isn't that big of a deal. I want to be a partnership with him and share things and have things work and be there for each other and encourage each other for whatever we're doing. So then it's not important who's right. It's important to come to an agreement between the two of us that works for both of us, a win-win. And then he said to me, yeah, like, we need to come up with a solution. So now this week, yesterday, he wanted to take my car and he wanted to drive me to work. And I told him what time we had to leave. And he said he was going to bring the dogs and take him for a walk first, or after he dropped me off. And I told him what time we had to leave, and a few minutes before that time, I saw him just sitting on the couch, just staring into the abyss. And I said, what are you doing? Don't you got to get into the car and get the dogs in the car? And he's like, yeah. And so we're getting ready to go, and I'm ready, and he's still getting the dogs' leashes on them and getting them out the door, and we ended up being a few minutes late. I made it to work on time, but it was a little stressful for me getting there. And so then that same situation started again, where I said, I'm really feeling again that you aren't respecting what I'm doing. And it's really reminding me of when I was young and I had people in my life who didn't respect how I perceived, didn't respect me or my feelings or my wants or what I would express. They would just brush them off. And that was replaying with my husband. And so him and I decided we would talk this morning, and we did. And we both voiced pretty much what I'm explaining to you right now about what happened for each of us in that situation. And it was a very good conversation. I don't know if you guys know of Esalen, like a workshop retreat place in California that they have this couples workshop run by Harville and Helen. You can look it up. The workshop's called Getting the Love You Want. And they also have a book. If you can't make it to the workshop, they also have a book with the same title, Getting the Love You Want. And it's an amazing book. And if you're someone who struggles with having those vulnerable conversations, really getting to the depth of what's hurting you, because you can't drop that outer armor and you're always fighting because you're too afraid to be hurt because you have in the past. It's a really good tool to have those vulnerable conversations, with somebody you trust. And eventually you start doing them and you learn to listen to the other person with your defenses down, and you see the vulnerability in the other, and that just opens up vulnerability in the listener, and then it goes around. And it's been amazing how much that has helped my husband and I in everything. We started that program over 3 years ago, and I tell you, it's been a huge game changer in our relationship and how we deal with conflict. Because let's be honest, there is no relationship that doesn't have conflict. If you don't have conflict, what are you doing? You're not growing or moving forward. I think we all get caught in that idea that a relationship is supposed to be what you see on TV, that first initial phase, the honeymoon phase, where everything is just good and pink and bright and flowers, not the stage where you tend to forget about each other and each other's needs and wants, because somebody can't put their attention on you all the time. That's just not possible. You're meant to put your attention on yourself. And when you look to somebody else to give you that attention, that's where things fall apart. And what this workshop, what the dialogue teaches you in this workshop, is to hold space for that person while they navigate their feelings with why whatever happened is bothering them, and maybe what it could have reminded them of when they were younger. And I tell you, it's like, I don't want to use the word magic, but it works that way, where if you're with someone you trust and are comfortable with and open up to them, amazing things happen, because you start to drop that defense of, I can't tell you this stuff, that's not what's bothering me, you're wrong, I'm right, just out of fear because you once did that and it backfired. So if you guys want to check it out again, it's called Getting the Love You Want. And it's a great tool to be able to communicate with your partner or anybody during those difficult conversations. And now I feel much better. My husband feels much better. We both feel heard. And he's going to drop me off at work again today, so we'll see what happens. Thank you for listening.